Stop right there. August 13th, 2018. A dad's smile hides pure evil. Chris Watts hugs his pregnant wife, Shanann, and their sweet girls, Bella and Celeste. Then, boom, murders them in cold blood. He buries Shanann in a shallow grave, chucks his daughters into oil tanks, and has the nerve to cry on TV for their return. Are you kidding me? What kind of twisted mind is that? Don't go anywhere. This is just the tip of the iceberg. Hey everyone, welcome back to Crime Scene, your go-to spot for the creepiest true crime stories out there. Today we're diving deep into the Chris Watts case, a story that hit us like a ton of bricks and left the world in shock. Okay, let's set the scene. It's Frederick, Colorado, back in 2018, a little suburb where life looks picture perfect on the outside. Meet Chris and Shanann Watts. They're this young couple with big dreams, living in a shiny new house they just moved into. Shanann's the heart of the family, always glowing with that pregnancy glow. She's carrying their third baby, a little boy they'd named Nico. Their girls, Bella and Celeste, are just 4 and 3, full of giggles and innocence, running around the yard. Shanann's all over social media, posting cute family photos and updates about her high-risk pregnancy, showing off her love for those kids. Meanwhile, Chris is the steady guy, working long hours at an oil and gas company, bringing home the bacon. But hold on a sec, things aren't as rosy as they seem. Behind that charming smile of Chris's, there's a secret eating away at this family. He's been sneaking around, texting Nichol Kessinger, a co-worker who caught his eye. She's younger and single, and before you know it, they're deep into an affair. Chris is telling her he's separated, spinning lies to keep her close, while Shanann's at home, clueless but starting to feel something's off. She's sending him messages, asking about their plans, worried about money troubles and how stressed he seems. Can you feel that tension creeping in? It's like the calm before a storm. So how did this perfect little family start crumbling? Let's peel back the layers because this is where it gets heavy. All right, let's rewind the clock a little and dig into what was going on behind the scenes. Chris and Shanann's marriage? It wasn't the fairy tale everyone thought. By the middle of 2018, things were starting to crack. Money was tight. Chris's job at the oil company wasn't paying as well as they hoped, and they were drowning in debt from that new house and Shanann's medical bills. On top of that, Shanann's pregnancy was no walk in the park. She was dealing with a high-risk situation, constant doctor visits, and the exhaustion of raising 2 energetic little girls, Bella and Celeste. She's posting about it online, trying to stay positive, but you can tell she's stretched thin. Chris, though? He's pulling away, getting quieter, and the tension between them is thick enough to cut with a knife. But here's where it gets messy. Enter Nichol Kessinger. She works with Chris at Anadarko Petroleum, and she's a whole different vibe. Younger, single, and full of energy, she catches his eye one day at the office. It starts innocently enough, small talk over coffee breaks, but soon they're texting nonstop. Chris is hooked, and Nichol is flattered. He starts spinning lies, telling her he's separated from Shanann, painting this picture of a man ready to break free. They're meeting up after work, sneaking around, and the texts get steamier by the day. Shanann's back home, noticing he's glued to his phone, barely talking to her. She's sending him worried messages, asking about their future, wondering why he's so distant. "Are we okay?" she texts. "I need you to be here for us." But Chris brushes it off, his mind elsewhere. Now let's fast forward a bit. By early August, the pressure's building. Shanann's planning a trip to Arizona to visit a friend, hoping a break might help her recharge. On August 8th, she packs up, kisses the girls goodbye, and leaves them with Chris for a few days. She's trusting him to hold down the fort, thinking this might give them space to figure things out. But hold on. While she's gone, Chris is diving deeper into his double life. He's with Nichol, telling her he's ready to leave Shanann for good. Nichol's pushing him, asking about his next steps, and Chris starts dreaming of a fresh start. No kids, no debts, just him and her. But the real motive? It's starting to bubble up, and it's darker than you'd think. See, it's not just the affair. Chris is drowning financially, emotionally, and Shanann's pregnancy means more responsibility than he doesn't want. He's telling Nichol he feels trapped, and she's feeding into that. maybe even suggesting he needs to fix his situation. Back in Frederick, neighbors are noticing odd things. Chris taking late-night calls, looking stressed. Shanann's texting him from Arizona, sending photos of her baby bump, and asking when he'll join her. He replies with short, cold answers, and the gap between them grows. Was it the affair pushing him to the edge? Or was there something bigger, like cold, calculated greed? Hold on tight because this story's about to take a terrifying turn. All right, let's get into the heart of this nightmare. August 13th, 2018, a day that changed everything in Frederick, Colorado. Things are about to take a turn no one could have predicted, and it's going to hit hard. Shanann Watts, exhausted from a red-eye flight back from Arizona, lands at 1:48 a.m. She's been away visiting a friend, hoping to clear her head, and now she's home, expecting to see her girls and sort things out with Chris. He picks her up from the airport, and they drive back to their quiet little house. It's late, the streets are dark, and everything seems normal, at least on the surface. But hold on, because what happens next is beyond belief. They get home around 2 a.m. Shanann's tired, probably heading straight to bed after that long flight, her pregnant belly making every step a little heavier. Chris is there, acting like everything's fine, but inside, something's brewing. Sometime between 2 and 4 a.m., in the dead of night, he makes his move. While Shanann's asleep, vulnerable, trusting him, Chris wraps his hands around her neck and strangles her. Can you imagine that? His own wife carrying their unborn son, gone in minutes because of him. The house is silent except for the sound of his breathing, and he doesn't stop there. He turns to Bella, just 4 years old, and Celeste, only 3, sleeping in their beds. With those same hands, he smothers them, his little girls full of life, snuffed out like they were nothing. How does a father do that? It's unthinkable. But wait, it gets worse. After the murders, Chris doesn't panic. He plans. He wraps Shanann's body in a sheet, carries her downstairs, and loads her into his work truck. Then he goes back for Bella and Celeste, their tiny bodies limp, and puts them in the back too. By 5:15 a.m., he's driving to the Anadarko oil site where he works, like it's just another day. At the site, he digs a shallow grave with a shovel and buries Shanann, her pregnancy making it all the more horrific. For Bella and Celeste, he opens 2 oil tanks, nasty, toxic places, and drops them inside, thinking the crude oil will hide his crime. And then, get this, he clocks in at work, acting like nothing happened, chatting with coworkers while his family's bodies are still warm. Neighbors start noticing something off around dawn. Their security cameras catch Chris leaving the house early, his truck loaded down, moving with this eerie calm. One neighbor even texts Shanann to check in, but there's no reply. By mid-morning, Chris is back home, and that's when the first red flags pop up. He's telling people Shanann took the girls somewhere, spinning lies to buy time. Can you believe he's out there acting normal after that? How does someone kill his whole family and then go about his day? This is beyond insane. It's a level of coldness that chills you to the bone. Stick with me, because the investigation's about to blow this wide open. All right, let's step into the next chapter of this chilling story. Things are about to heat up fast. It's August 14th, 2018, the day after that horrific night, and the clock's ticking. Shanann's friend, Nichol Atkinson, is getting worried. Shanann's not answering her phone, and that's not like her. She's always checking in, especially with her girls and that pregnancy. Nichol tries calling, texting, and even messaging on Facebook, but nothing. Something's wrong, and her gut's screaming it. So she picks up the phone and dials 911, telling the Frederick Police Department that Shanann, Bella, and Celeste are missing. That call sets off a chain reaction that's about to expose everything. Meanwhile, Chris Watts is putting on a show. He's at home, pacing around, playing the panicked husband to perfection. He tells Nichol and the cops that Shanann might have taken the girls somewhere, maybe to a friend's house, acting like he's just as confused as everyone else. But hold on. Later that day, he steps in front of the cameras for a TV interview. There he is, tears in his eyes, begging for Shanann, Bella, and Celeste to come home, saying he just wants his family back. It's heart-wrenching, or at least it would be if you didn't know the truth. The public eats it up. sharing the clip online, praying for a happy ending. But the police, they're not buying it for a second. See, the cops are sharp. They start digging, and right away, Chris's story doesn't add up. First, he says Shanann left with the girls voluntarily. Then he changes it. Maybe she took off mad after a fight. His timeline's all over the place. And his body language? Stiff, avoiding eye contact, sweating even though it's not hot. They decide to bring him in for a closer look, and that's when they spring a polygraph test on him. He fails it miserably, heart rate spiking, answers shaky, and the officers know they've got a liar on their hands. But here's the twist. The investigation's just getting started, and the pieces are falling into place. Around this time, someone else enters the picture. Nichol Kessinger, Chris's mistress. She's been watching the news, seeing Chris on TV, and she's starting to panic. The story he told her about being separated, it's crumbling fast. She calls the police, spilling everything. How they'd been texting for weeks, meeting up, and planning a life together. She hands over her phone, and those messages, they're damning, showing Chris's growing frustration with Shanann and his kids. But wait, there's more. Neighbors start coming forward too, handing over security footage from the night before. Those cameras catch Chris leaving the house at 5:15 a.m. with his truck loaded down, moving with this creepy calm. It's the smoking gun the police need. By August 15th, the net's closing in. Cops track Chris to the Anadarko oil site where he works, and they confront him right there among the tanks. He tries to stick to his story at first, but the pressure's too much. After hours of questioning, he cracks. With tears streaming down his face, real ones this time, he admits it all. He confesses to strangling Shanann, smothering Bella and Celeste, and leading the police to the gruesome scene. They follow him to the oil site, and there it is. Shanann's body in that shallow grave, Bella and Celeste pulled from the toxic tanks. The sight was horrifying, and the whole town reeled. But why did he do it? Was it the affair, the money, or something deeper? Can you wrap your head around that level of betrayal? Stick with me, because we're about to dive into what drove him to this point. All right, folks, let's take a deep breath and dive into the messy mind of Chris Watts, because figuring out what drove him to this point is going to be a wild ride. We've seen the crime, the confessions, and the bodies found in those oil tanks. But now it's time to ask, who was this man really? Was he a cold-blooded psychopath, calculating every move like some movie villain? Or did something, or someone, push him over the edge into this nightmare? Let's break it down, step by step, because there's a lot to unpack here. First off, let's talk about the psychology. Some experts and fans online, especially on places like X and Reddit, say Chris might have been a psychopath all along. They point to how he acted after the murders, calmly going to work, doing that TV interview, and lying to everyone's face. A psychopath doesn't feel guilt, they argue, and Chris seemed to switch off his emotions like a light. But here's another angle. Maybe it wasn't all him. Nichol Kessinger, his mistress, played a big role. Those texts they exchanged, they show Chris venting about Shanann, the kids, the money troubles, and Nichol egging him on, asking when he'd be free. Did her affair ignite a rage he couldn't control? Some think that on August 13th, when Shanann came home and confronted him about those messages, it was the breaking point. Imagine her standing there, hurt and angry, asking why he'd betray her, and him snapping, letting that fury take over. But wait, there's more to consider. Greed could have been the real driver here. Chris was drowning in debt, over $70,000 from that new house, Shanann's medical bills piling up, and a third kid on the way. Nichol offered him a way out, a fresh start, no family ties, just the two of them. Some say he saw killing Shanann, Bella, and Celeste as a way to erase his old life and start over with her money and freedom. Those oil tanks? Maybe he thought the crude oil would dissolve evidence, making it the perfect cover-up. He even asked a coworker about the site's security, hinting he'd planned this for days. Can you picture him standing there, shovel in hand, thinking he'd get away with it? It's chilling. Now let's shift gears to the ethical side, because this case raises some heavy questions. Chris took a plea deal in November 2018, confessing to all three murders to avoid the death penalty. Instead, he got life without parole, locked up at Dodge Correctional in Wisconsin. Some folks think that's too lenient. On X, you'll see posts calling it a slap on the wrist. Shanann strangled in her sleep, Bella and Celeste smothered, and he walks away from the needle. Shanann's family, especially her brother Frankie, has spoken out, saying the justice system let them down. They wanted him to face the ultimate punishment, to feel the weight of what he did. Others argue the plea deal was fair. It spared them a long, painful trial and guaranteed he'd never see freedom. But here's the twist. Did the rush to close the case, with all that media attention, push prosecutors to settle too quickly? And what about Nichol? She's not charged, but people on X and in true crime forums wonder if she knew more. Did she encourage him, even indirectly, by pushing for that new life? She's vanished now, living under a new identity, and that silence fuels the debate. Then there's Chris himself. Since prison, he's written letters claiming he's found God, expressing regret. But is that real, or just another lie from a master manipulator? Seriously, do you think he's sorry, or is he playing us again? Drop your thoughts below, because this one's got people talking. Stick with me, because we're heading into what's happened since that courtroom decision. All right, let's catch up on where everyone stands now, because this story's aftermath is just as gripping. It's 2025, and Chris Watts is still behind bars, serving out his life sentences with no chance of parole at Dodge Correctional Institution in Wisconsin. That's a maximum security prison where he's been since 2018, locked away after those horrific murders. He's part of the general population there, working as a custodian and spending his days with limited privileges, maybe an hour or two to work out or shower. But here's the thing, he's written letters from inside, claiming he's found religion and feels regret for what he did. He even talks to photos of Shanann, Bella, and Celeste every night, reading to them like they're still here. But is that regret real, or just another act from a guy who fooled everyone before? It's hard to tell, and that's what keeps people talking. Now, what about Nichol Kessinger? She's completely off the grid. After the affair came to light and the hate mail started pouring in, she changed her name and moved away from Colorado, trying to escape the spotlight. She cooperated with police back in 2018, saying she had no idea Chris was still married or that Shanann was pregnant. But the backlash was brutal. Some folks on X still speculate she knew more, maybe even pushed him toward the edge, though there's no proof she was involved. She's stayed silent since, and no one knows where she is today, vanished like a ghost. Meanwhile, Shanann's family, especially her parents, Frank and Sandra Ruchek, are still picking up the pieces. They've turned their grief into action, raising awareness about domestic violence, and speaking out to help others spot the signs they missed. It's heartbreaking, but it's also inspiring how they're honoring Shanann, Bella, and Celeste's memory. So where does that leave us? The Watts family's gone, but their story keeps echoing. Shanann's family fights on, Nichol's hidden away, and Chris sits in his cell, claiming change. Is this chapter truly closed, or could there be more twists ahead? What do you think? Should he stay locked up forever, or is there another side to this? Drop your take in the comments, because this one's got everyone guessing. Wow, we've made it to the end, and what a journey it's been. The Chris Watts case, starting with a happy family in that Colorado suburb, turned into a triple murder that left us all speechless. Those oil tanks where he hid Bella and Celeste, that TV plea where he lied through his teeth. It's a nightmare etched into our minds, something we can't unsee. So what do we make of it all? Was Chris Watts a monster, cold and calculated from the start? Or was he a man broken by his choices, pushed too far by debt, an affair, and his own demons? It's a tough call, and I'm dying to hear your take. Drop your verdict in the comments. Did he deserve life, or should it have been more? I'm all ears, so let's get this discussion going. If you've been hooked on this deep dive, do me a favor. Hit that like button to show some love and subscribe for more true crime stories daily. We've got another killer dad story lined up, and trust me, it's going to blow your mind.